distinguished guests, good evening. I have a confession to make. You may already have guessed. I'm a beekeeper. I get some varied reactions to that one. Some people are fascinated. Other people just freeze in horror. Why would anyone want to keep bees? What I'd like to talk to you about tonight is the fascination of beekeeping and the absolute sensuality of the experience, the closeness with nature. Yes, there might be a few stings, but if you treat your bees with respect and understanding, not many, it will stretch you physically and mentally. No one can ever be certain what a colony of bees might decide to do. You'll get plenty of fresh air, and you'll meet some fantastic people along the way. I'm going to take you through the seasons with a few of my experiences to show you what I mean. And I'm going to start with winter. It's the quiet time for the bees and also for the beekeeper. The bees are tucked up, snug and warm in their little hives, eating their way slowly through all the nectar or the honey and the pollen that they've gathered during the previous season. The beekeeper might be planning for the coming year. She might be cleaning and patching up her old equipment. But there's one job that can usefully be done with the bees. At the turn of the year, with very little young brood in the hive, the dreaded varroa mite can be treated, and hopefully most of them will be knocked out. So, picture this. I'm standing there in my bee suit and wellies with my good friend Marisha. We're standing there in the snow, and this lady is in her 80s. So, one by one, we carefully open up the hives and dribble oxalic acid syrup onto our bees. What dedication. But it was worth it to have healthy colonies come the springtime. Fast forward to the spring. The days lengthen, flowers start to appear, snowdrops, hazel, cherry. On a good day, it's warm enough for bees to fly. And you can often tell by the colour of the pollen they bring in which flowers they've been visiting. With the warmth and light, there comes a huge profusion of flowers in the hedgerows and gardens. As soon as it's warm enough, comes the first spring inspection of the hive. Hopefully all's well. But now and then, we find a dead colony. Disease, cold, or a mouse that managed to sneak in and make a nest and eat its way through all the honeycombs. Well, those things happen. From April onwards, depending on the weather, we check our bees every week. We check that they're healthy, that the queen is laying. We look for signs of swarming, and of course we make sure they have enough to eat. In a wet spring, I have had to feed my bees up until June. But in a really good spring, there may be honey to harvest. And now imagine, it's a brilliant day in late spring. The sky is a high, deep blue. The air is warm and trembling with life. The vibrant energy of living things. The absolute perfect day for a swarm. The bees have been preparing for months just for this day. And I was there in the apiary once, suited and booted, and just about to open the first hive when there was a sudden roaring sound, like a strong wind. The air all around filled with bees. They circled like a whirlwind, gradually coming together into a great cloud of bees, which lifted and flew off high over the trees and away. They were a force of nature. They couldn't be stopped. But there was one good thing about it. They weren't actually my bees. And the beekeeper did eventually get them back, but that's another story. Beekeepers do their very best throughout the spring and summer to try to stop their bees from swarming. But since that's the main way that bees reproduce, it's very hard to check that natural urge. So now the season is moving on. Summer has come. Bramble, lime, sweet chestnut. The scent of honey drifts on the air as you approach the hives. In late July or early August, we take our honey harvest. There is plenty left for the bees, but still, they do get quite upset, so we try to give them a few days just to get over it. It can take us a full day to extract our honey from the combs, and then we return the combs to be licked out by the bees and store them over the winter ready for the coming year. In late summer, we treat again for varroa mite, this time with thymol gel. After that, any colonies that need it can be fed with sugar syrup. By October, the season is over and we're closing down for the year. Nature being what it is, there are still threats to the bees. On each hive, we put a little mouse guard over the entrance with tiny holes, big enough for a bee to get through, but too small for a mouse's skull to squeeze through, because that's the biggest part of the bee. And we also cover each hive with a net to stop the woodpeckers getting in. Yes. This is one of my abiding memories. On a frosty New Year's Day, I went to have a look at my bees in Nonsuch Park. And there was a green woodpecker, head and shoulders deep in someone's hive. It just looked at me as if to say, well, why are you disturbing my lunch? So now we've come to the end of my year. We come full circle. I hope that even if you're not going to be rushing up to take up beekeeping, I have been able to show you some of the attractions of the pursuit. Thank you.